beautiful, welcome back to Nat's Beautiful Life. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my September wrap up. I have read a lot of books this month. I have finished 12 books. I had 2 DNFs on top of that, and we're just going to talk about those today. If you're new to this channel, hello, my name is Natasha, and I am so glad you're here today. Go ahead and subscribe, give this video a thumbs up early in the video, and that way you'll never miss my new postings, which I'm working on. Alright, so the very first book, I kept saying I wanted to say video. My very first book that I finished this month was The Survivors by Jane Harper. This book it's a little bit different than what Jane Harper's done before, but Jane Harper never disappoints me. Alright, so we have most of her books, or actually all of her books, have taken place in Australia, typically in the bush, or like in a place that is so dry and hot that you need to have like a giant glass of water or something with you while you're reading. But this one takes place on a little island. It is still Australia, but it's right off of the mainland, and it's a small community and all that jazz. So some things take place in the past, and then this, I'm sorry about all the ears flipping and all of that you may be hearing from my dogs. But anyway, the son of this family that still lives there comes back after like 10 years or something to help them move, and another murder takes place while they're there, and the story just goes on from there. So I'm going to highly recommend this one. This is a good Jane Harper starter book as well, because you get her writing, and you also get her kind of twists and turns. And I noticed in the past, like her first books, it was where somebody came back to a small town after all these years, and people thought that person had done something, and they hadn't, and kind of the same deal here, but so much different. So that's all I'm going to say. Go into it blind. Really, really good. Very atmospheric setting. And highly, highly recommend this one. Second book, Damnation Spring by Ash Davidson. This is another very atmospheric book. It's considered historical fiction because it takes place in the 70s. So think redwoods, think loggers, think hippies, think pesticides and birth defects and what that could mean, and money, and you know, people greasing each other's hands in the back rooms and stuff like that. A lot is in this book, and this book is so good. But when you're done with this book, you're going to be like, just ripped a little bit inside. But I cannot recommend this enough. And this is a great time of year to read this, because again, it's very atmospheric. The trees, the woods, those areas, they are very much a part of this story and this community and the group of people we're following. So pick this one up. Run, don't walk. Very, very good. Alright, so the next book on my list is going to be a little controversial. It's Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko. Just looking at my notes here. I started to buy this book, but I was like, wait, I'm going to read it first, and if I like it, then I'll buy the series, blah, blah, blah. I love this cover. I love this concept. And it just... The actual execution weren't too bad. However, there were an awful lot of, and they just so happen to be here, and we just so happen to have this. There was a lot of convenience in this book, where things were going bad, but conveniently this person showed up, or we found this thing, or this happened. And that doesn't sit well with me in a book. Otherwise, the concept of this book and all that really, really good. And so I didn't rush out to grab the second one, but I'm not against reading the second one and giving it a second chance because it's set up for something really good. So yeah, I think I gave it 3 stars because, again, it had so much potential for me, but then those moments of convenience and, oh, by the way, just didn't do it for me. And I can't be the only person, but otherwise, good book. I don't not recommend it. It's just be prepared for very intense moment and then, oh, look, there, just be prepared for that. Okay? Okay. The next book, I'm gonna move on from that, is one that it was a little disappointing to me, but I don't know how to explain it either. Circus of Wonders by Elizabeth Mcneal. I actually ordered this one from Book Depository because I loved the UK cover so much. The US cover does not do it any justice. I mean, look at that sucker. Can you see it? I mean, look at that. Just, it's a beautiful cover. It's another one of those things where I hate to unhaul it because it's such a pretty cover. Okay, let's just talk a little bit about this situation. The writing was interesting. It was written as if it were a classic, which I didn't mind. I liked that. However, there were certain parts of the book where at first it's almost like one of our characters, who, by the way, you will eventually just despise, he becomes more and more horrible and crass throughout the book. But at the beginning of the book, things he says to himself or thinks or behaves don't fit with the rest of what we were given. And so it's like crassness just to be crassness. And there are certain areas where it was just unnecessary. I don't know. Yeah, so there was that. But there were setups for things that I was like, well, I want to keep going. I don't want to quit this book. A, I bought it. 2, I was intrigued. I was intrigued by what was going to happen or what had happened in the past, because they kept alluding to this thing that happened in the war. It's historical fiction, by the way. And when you find out what really happened back in the day, that this guy supposedly is holding over his brother, it ain't that big of a deal. This book, it took me forever to finish it. I literally read several books, start to finish, while reading this. And then when I finally got into it and just started reading it and figuring out what's going on, this book. But I tell you, you will like our main character, Nellie. The premise of this book, what's in the blurbology here, is that we have, this is like the height of when freak shows were big. Tom Thumb was already a millionaire and all this stuff. This girl has a skin condition, and her father sells her to the show as a leopard girl because she has like birthmarks and spots and stuff all over her. And some people like are kind of new about it because they don't understand it, because we are back in the day, way back in the day, and then, you know, people can be cruel and all this stuff. And then she just, I don't know. Anyway, so he sells her, and then this man decides to make a story up about her in order to sell her as this other thing. And she actually is talented at something. So the problem is, this guy is such a narcissist. She becomes a little bit more famous than he does. Like, people want figurines of her instead of him, even though he's like the ringmaster, which makes sense because nobody wants the ringmaster. They want the performers, whatever. And then there's also like his little brother. It's another one of those books where I just don't know how to feel about it. Other than it fell so completely, I don't even say it fell flat, it just fell off a cliff. I don't know, it just wasn't my thing. Another book that I didn't finish this one first. We're gonna go through some of the books that I finished on my way to finishing this one right now. We talked about Raybearer. Then I read Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson. This book has been on my like TBR forever, and I'm so glad I read it. I literally read it one sitting. I started it after dinner. I finished it by 1 a.m. It is not a long book. So this girl marries this senator. His kids from his previous marriage are coming to live with them, and she contacts her friend from boarding school. That's a whole thing there. And is like, can you maybe be their like governess? Even though it's present times, she's like, just take care of them. There's a guest house out there. Just keep them away from everything. And they're like, what's the, you know, what's the what? Why? Why do I have to keep them away from everything? And she's like, well, when they get upset, they spontaneously combust. So basically, these kids burst into flames whenever they get like sad or angry or just don't know what to do, just get upset. You know, whereas most kids would just scream, these kids burst into flames. And it's a good, heartwarming book because she feels for these kids and she's the only one fighting for these kids. And these kids have trauma. But there's also other things that go on, and I just recommend this book. Like, again, it's a short read. It's like less than 300 pages, or it's like 305 pages. You can get through it easy, and it's just, it'll make you feel things, but it's also just so bizarre that, and you kind of wonder, like, what would I do in this situation? But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. It was good. Next one, another one I read in one sitting because it's a graphic novel. That is Pumpkinheads by Rowell and Faith Erin Hicks. Read my notes. This is such a heartwarming little tale. It's two people who are seniors. This is their last year and their last night working at this like pumpkin farm carnival thing. And they've worked at it every year together. And they're going off to college, and they realize that there are some things that they just, in the park, that they've never done before. And also there's a girl that this guy has never spoken to, and he's always had a crush on her. So they kind of make it their mission to do all of the things and go talk to this girl. It's precious. And it made me immediately want to go to like a hay maze or a corn maze or whatever we got around here. And go pick pumpkins and do hay rides. It really made me want to do that. So atmospheric, so super fun, very, very cute. Recommend. Next one is one that was recommended by Gabby. I'll put her down below if you know who I'm talking about. She, it's like Gabby Reads or something. I don't know. She is the queen of mysteries. So if you want to read a mystery book, don't know what to do, go check out her channel. Jar of Hearts by Jennifer Hillier. This book, the basic premise is there was a murder in the 90s when this girl was a teenager, and her boyfriend later, I mean, I'm not giving anything away, later became a serial killer, and then evidence was found when someone found this body that pointed to him. And because she was his girlfriend, they figure she either had something to do with it or she knew something, and there's just a whole bunch of stuff. I really, I don't want to say enjoyed this book because it's messed up, but I mean, I've read more messed up books, so don't be afraid of it. But the twists, the turns, and the things that you find out are yeah. Now, the only problem I had was with the very, very, very ending. And I'm not talking about where they're all safe now, blah, blah, blah. I'm talking about the very, very, very end. Like the last little bit when she's in the graveyard. And the things that they talk about. That didn't make any sense to me. But that's just me. What do I know? But I really enjoyed that for a mystery, and yeah, there are some things, there's some, you know, I don't do trigger warnings because I just don't, but there are triggers in there if you have issues, so just check those out. But good mystery book. The next book, again, I was told I must read this by whom? I can't even remember who it was, but it was on YouTube. And somebody was losing their mind over Never Let Me Go by, I'm so sorry, Kazuo Ishiguro? Yeah. Premises. Why can't I remember who was going over, like, on and on about this? If I remember, I'll put their channel down below. But, so the premise, and the premise sounds cool, is like these people, and this really isn't it either. This is another one of those ones where you were told the premise is one thing, but it's not. The premise is that there are children who are brought up in a school, a boarding school, and they are not allowed, you're basically told they're girls, but it's girls and boys, and they are born, you know nothing about their parents. They're put in these boarding schools, and they have to live there until such and such a time. They're not given any contact with the outside world. They don't know anything. They're allowed to have their friend groups and things like that there and be children and learn things and all of that, but they don't know anything else. They are told little itsy bitsy things. You find out pretty quickly that, I want to give too much away in case you are interested. Okay, again, this is a translated work, and I don't know, the writing was so juvenile, and the children, who in other instances could be smart, are so, yeah. I had a hard time with this because I'm just like, if that girl, like this girl that, there's a group of friends, 2 girls, 1 boy, and that's Barry. My dog is sleeping on the tripod and he's stretched out and he moved it. Sorry, buddy. Anyway, yes, so they all like bow basically to this one girl just to make her not mad. This kid, all I know is that if that girl, even as a child, talked to me and treated me the way that she did, I would have nothing to do with her. But these people just babied her and just did whatever, because she would lash out. No. And basically, as they got older, they got transferred to this other like farm place where they're supposed to stay for 2 years, and then they go to the training. Turns out these children are basically clones. They are born somehow, never explained. They are cloned. They are told immediately that they can never have children because clones can't have children. So immediately you start thinking they're clones. I mean, it's finally spelled out at one point, but you're knowing that they're clones. They're born for their parts. They know this. I regret reading this book because it was so bad. It was so bad. The writing was, again, it's translated, so things get lost in translation. It was just not the book for me. Anyway, then I finished The Circus of Wonders. You know how I feel about that. Now let's move on to some better days. The next book I read was by Therese and Fowler, who wrote Oh man, I just realized I forgot to mention that in my yearly wrap-up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and mention this. I missed it in my yearly wrap-up, which is the last video I read. I read 2 books from Therese and Fowler, period. The year before, or something, I read A Well-Behaved Woman. Excellent. This year, I listened to the audiobook of Zelda, Z, a novel about Zelda Fitzgerald. Excellent. So, I picked up another Therese and Fowler. I didn't realize that she had, like, this one. This is so far away from her normal genre. Again, she writes historical fiction based on real people. Excellent writer. Saw this one. Another quick read. A Good Neighborhood by Therese and Fowler. If you read this, please read the author's note, I believe is what it is. The author's... The acknowledgements. Yeah, the acknowledgements. Yeah, please read that first. Because she is a white lady, and she is writing both African American and white characters, and she talks about that. This book is excellent. So a lot of people talk about, like, there's a tree and it's not on property. You know, they're like, there's a problem with the tree and these 2 families are warring and the only 2 people keeping together are the 2 kids. That's, again, not what the book is about. The book is about this guy who was the new neighbor who is a jerk. Like, he is an utter can't say the word, okay? And racist and sexist and horrible. But he puts on a good face. And then you got our neighbors, who was an African American professor and ecologist and activist. And he is basically killing this, over 100-year-old oak tree that means a lot to her for many different reasons. And the kids, their children, which their children are like seniors in high school, are falling in love with each other. And there are legal things involved, and then people trying to use things to make those things go. I don't want to give this book away. Incredibly good. I do love that our narrator is, she's never mentioned, or he or she is never mentioned. The narrator is an omniscient neighbor. So it's a neighbor in the neighborhood talking about all of this. Never named, don't know who it is, blah, blah, blah. But they're telling the story, and this is really good. Again, this is another one I think is pretty short. Yeah, it's like less than 315 pages. Very good. I don't want to say enjoyed this book. It made me mad, and I was telling my husband about it. We were talking about it in the car. I was like, okay. He was like getting upset too. I was like, but you know, this is a really good writer, Therese and Fowler. I highly recommend her books. Anyway, moving on to another controversial thing. I liked it, okay? I'm going to say I liked it, so don't lose your mind. But, and I have a really awesome book next, so please don't click out yet. If We Were Villains by Emma Rio. This is a lot of people, including Allie. I will put her channel down below, the hardback hoarder. This is her favorite book of all time. I have had this on my list to read forever, and I finally got a hold of it in the library and read it. At first I was like, okay, so if you've read The Secret History by Donna Tartt, I recommend reading this one first if you haven't read that one. They are different. It's not the same thing at all. It's not the same thing at all. In fact, I like the dynamic in this book much, much better than I did The Secret History. I think this one is Donna Tartt's writing. I'm just talking about that book, the other books. They're over there. That's why I'm like over here. Donna Tartt's writing is beautiful. It's beautiful writing, and I love it. Her books tend to fall flat at the end for me, but I enjoy the read, if that makes any sense. This one, totally different thing. So you're following, there are 7 characters at first that are your main friend group. They're at a conservatory college that is in fine arts. So it's not just, they focus only on Shakespeare and their drama department, so it's all Shakespeare. But they also have other disciplines. They have visual arts, they have dancers, they have musicians, things like that. One of the friends dies, and you find out right away that one of the characters, the main characters in the main character group, goes to prison for it. He's getting out 10 years later on probation or good behavior or something. And the arresting officer comes by and is like, look, I'm not a cop anymore, and I know you did not do this, but I want to know what really happened. And so we are following this character, our main character, Oliver, telling the officer what really happened. And I have thoughts of this. I don't want to give too many spoilers on this because, yeah. But this is one of those things where I feel like if they'd have kept their heads about them, there could have been a much different outcome. I just don't feel like it was a murder. But that's all I'm gonna say. But you will enjoy the setting. It goes through, you know, different seasons and stuff, and it's dark academia, so there's gonna be weirdness about it. Yeah, I did enjoy it, but again, I was just like, I feel like, you know, again, when you're dealing with younger people, but it's just like, I feel like we could have made something else happen. I don't know. That's just maybe grown up me thinking this, but it is a very good book. If you love dark academia, that is the book for you. Grab that. And I think I enjoyed the story of this more than The Secret History. The Secret History is very, very, very dark. Very dark. This one, not so much. As far as like, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to explain, because I don't want to spoil anything, is what I'm saying. You know, whatever. Okay? Okay. We're gonna stop there on that one, but yeah, I did enjoy If We Were Villains, but again, I just was like, I feel like things could have gone a little differently if this would have happened. But enjoyable read. Yeah. Page turner. Okay, the last one, the 12th book in my little thing here. I hope you have made it to this book if you're watching this video, because this book is awesome. All right, this is Small Favors by Erin A. Craig. There's a sticker on it. Why do they do that? Do not be fooled by this precious little cover, because this book it's something. Very atmospheric. If I literally if I had my choice of any cover or color or in papers and one of my own books, it would be this. Just congratulations on the beauty of this book itself. But if you don't know who this author is, she wrote The House of Salt and Sorrows. Very atmospheric. Totally made you feel like you were soaking cold and wet the whole time you were reading that. But this is, I think this kind of takes place in the 1800s, like maybe like American West times, you know. That's what it seemed like to me, because at first it was like, what is this? Is this what's going on? But that's what I figured out. So it's a town in the middle of a valley. surrounded by woods, pines, okay? And then twice a year they go on supply runs. They come back with things that they can't grow, things like coffee, sugar, things like that. Otherwise, they are self-sustaining. The very beginning of this book, we find that these men have gone on the supply run and come back. They haven't come back, but one of the horses came back and it is ripped to shreds. Somehow it's still alive. And it has this giant claw mark down its side, and it's huge. And then weird things start to happen in the town. People are afraid to go into the woods. Another supply run is tried. All of those men die. Yeah, I'm not giving anything away here. Just a lot of weird stuff ensues. Completely atmospheric, completely creepy, incredibly creepy. I could say some people might be like think it's scary. To me, it was just creepy. Incredibly good. This is the best time of year to read this book. And again, it looks nice and springy and fun. But you do go through all the seasons. Like it gives you winter, spring, summer, autumn, all of that. But I can't recommend this enough. Go get this. I had put myself on the on the list of the library. They hadn't received it yet. It was on order, and then when I was in the bookstore and I saw it, I was like, I'm just gonna get it. I can't wait. So yeah, get that book. That's a good autumn book. Like I said, you will feel like you're there, and you will see it, and then you will start guessing and things like that, but you're not actually getting it right. Like you're like, well, this is probably what happened, but it's not what happened. And there is an imaginary friend of one of her little sisters who might not be so imaginary. I'm just gonna say that, okay? But oh my word, so good. All right, so that is my September wrap up. 12 whole books. Thank you guys again for watching. I appreciate you guys so much. Be sure you're following me on Instagram and all of that. Hadn't posted for a while, but now I'm trying to pick all that back up. Yeah, I think that's it. If you have any requests or any books, like recommendation videos you'd like for me to do, put that in the comments down below, and I'll see you very soon. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day, gorgeous.